Hi, are you a self-taught artist and are looking to submit your work for galleries? You came to the right place. My name is Antonio Alanis, and today we're going to talk about 12 things that I wish I knew when submitting to galleries when I was starting out my career as a self-taught artist from North Carolina. So, I want to share a little bit of my life and a little bit of my career as an artist and my experience growing up in the South. I started my career when I was about 26 years old, is starting to submit to local galleries. And today's video, I want to give you some of the tips that I wish I had when I was starting out submitting to galleries in my local community. Some things about me they have to know is that I do not have an art degree. I do not have the experience of a formal art school, and pretty much I've learned the art practice or my art practice through self exploration, through classes that I've taken in local community locations. And today I want to talk to you about the things that have been helpful for me to essentially start submitting. And I'm hoping that this work and this video will help you shine some light on the 12 things that it will be helpful. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that this will allow you to start getting your work in galleries. This has helped me. This advice or these tips have definitely helped me. And I would like to start with tip number one. So, tip number one is definitely overcoming imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is one of those things that have always been discussed in artist circles and things that I have felt myself. So, one is I didn't want to apply to galleries because I didn't know that people without the formal experience could apply to galleries. And this has left me with an impression that many other artists may feel scared or not prepared or unsure whether this is a space for them. And I want to say that you can apply to galleries without being a student of art or someone who has studied art in college. And one thing that I really found out from the beginning is navigating the art world as an artist, as a Latino artist. And not only navigating that identity, but also navigating within a system of art, a system that may not or has not been built for people like me. So it was really interesting to understand a lot of the ropes, understand a lot of the obstacles. And one of those things was really thinking about whether galleries were open for community members um, who have my same experience or have the same cultural background. At first, I didn't know whether galleries were welcoming, whether galleries were thoughtful about including diverse perspectives or perspectives and voices that had not been included for so many years. So I'm speaking in 2024 in North Carolina, and there's a lot of amazing work going on right now in terms of allowing artists of diverse perspectives to show their work. And I can talk more about that, how that has been happening and how that has allowed me to create more art and also show my pieces in more locations. One of the things is, again, with imposter syndrome is not believing that your work is good enough or not believing that these pieces are for you. I highly recommend that you start making the conversations with galleries. And these are galleries that have been mostly nonprofits. I understand there are many other kind of galleries that are businesses who follow business plans or that follow business plans. I have no experience with them as much as I like, but the experience that I will be talking today is mostly nonprofit galleries. So again, I didn't feel that my work was good enough. And I really made sure that was okay. I can sometimes be a little bit hard on myself and say, this is not perfect or it's not the best that I can, but I began to learn to let go and just submit the work. If it was for me, it would find me. And I think that has relieved a lot of the pressure that I put in myself to say my work does not have these kind of standards back then when I was starting out, or maybe I could work more on my skills, or I could work on values on or all these things that art is made out of, right? Again, think about imposter syndrome, and some things that have helped me is thinking a lot about whether galleries are welcoming to show diverse perspectives. And I think it has helped me to talk with more artists. And a lot of that uncertainty has come down because I was able to talk to people more. So again, my biggest tip here is don't let self-doubt hold you back. Believe in your work. Even if you don't think it's the best, it's okay. Submit it. The worst that can happen is you don't get in, but that's okay. I've been lucky enough to be part of many gallery exhibitions over the years, and sometimes some doors were closed, some other times were opened, but I ended up refining more in how I was approaching my work. So the first thing is overcoming imposter syndrome. Tip number 2 is understanding art calls. So this is where essentially galleries are creating announcements or what they call open art calls to exhibit. So some things about exhibitions is they usually, and even working with nonprofit galleries and other artists, have relied heavily on planning a year, up to a year or 2 years in advance. So these art calls can be anything from submitting something in the next few months to submitting something in the next year or so. So these are the types of calls that you can likely see. Um, some things about galleries is that they like to work. And again, I'm not speaking for any gallery, but in my experience, what I've seen is that galleries like to work ahead of time up till a year or a year and a half. What they're doing here on these exhibition calls is they're asking people to essentially submit and apply to exhibit their work. And the thing is about submitting to this kind of work is um, whether you are looking to do a submission to a gallery theme, right? So they may have something going on like a art call that explores a topic in specific. And the thing about this is that they're looking for what they have in terms of what they want to exhibit. So they have a theme, they have a thread that will connect every single piece. One thing that has helped me is applying for galleries that already were exploring themes and topics that I wanted to explore myself through the work that I was doing. And all I had to do was essentially create pieces that were helpful and were already aligned with what they wanted to showcase in their work and in their curating activities. That would be one thing that I can think about, submitting to a gallery theme or topic that has already been established, and hopefully you have some work that already aligns. Now, the second type of art call that I have experienced is essentially applying to an art call without having work already produced, right? What this means is I didn't have work, I didn't have paintings or visual pieces ready for hanging. What I had to do was create a piece from scratch, from all the way from the sketch part, all the way to creating the piece and finishing the piece to submit to the exhibition call. So this is the second type of call. And I find that I used to do a lot more of the first example that I just shared. And the second example, I used to do more when there was a topic that I normally was not exploring, but I still wanted to explore through my work. And I wanted to get out of routine, right? Get out of things that I was normally doing and explore other topics that were interesting to me. I can give you so many examples, but normally my work is on diversity, on talking about our history, my history as a Latinx individual growing up in the South in North Carolina. And sometimes there were articles that talked about health or mental health. And these were the things that started to open up new avenues and new thoughts about what I wanted to essentially explore. And I like these second type of calls and exhibitions because normally they would allow me to explore new things, new topics that I wasn't really exploring. And it was something that kept my work fresh and it kept my work a little bit more interesting and allowed me to explore my creativity in other types of ways. So again, keep an eye out to the galleries that you are thinking about. Think about it, whether you already have some pieces available or whether you want to create new pieces for that specific call. So tip number 3, this is building your resume or your CV. And this is a crucial part of submitting anything to a gallery. A CV essentially is a story or a history of what you have as an artist, the things that you have produced. And we can go on in depth about what a CV does. But essentially, it talks about who you are as an artist, right? It talks about your name. It talks about, or lists your name. It lists your contact information and relevant experience that you have had when submitting pieces to the gallery, right? Whether you have participated in solo shows, meaning whether you have done something for group exhibitions or whether you have received any kind of grants or whether you have received any other kind of opportunity. So it's really a crucial way that you list all your artistic experience, exhibitions, work, volunteer opportunities, or anything like that you are creating. Now, if you're a beginning artist and you're thinking, I don't have a CV right now, or my CV is not long enough. Remember, going back to the first point of imposter syndrome, I didn't have a lot of exhibitions or experience when I was starting out, when I was 26, right? Or you may be 19, 17, 15, whatever age you are. Whatever experience you have, whether it's a little bit, just put it in. I'm not going to speak for the people who make decisions when inviting artists to exhibit their work, but I believe that people will take that into account, that you are young, you're starting out, or maybe you're a little older and you didn't do this before. I think that people will be open to receiving applications for submitting to their art call, right? Again, do not let this hold back or hold you back at all. Think a lot about all of us started somewhere. And eventually, the more experience you have, the more submissions you start creating, the more opportunities that your CV will have to grow. Again, be honest. Even if you have some volunteer experience, if everything you've done in the past 3-4 years relates to creating or working with a muralist and helping them out paint some things that they invited you to paint over or prep for them, that is experience, right? It's not necessarily related to gallery exhibitions or anything like that, but that is experience that you can start using in your career. And hopefully the people who are making decisions will give you some points. If not, that's not the end of the world. There will be other things and other opportunities available for you. Again, galleries will be definitely asking you for a CV. If you don't have anything or you have nothing, start compiling things, right? Sit down and think about, how do I create a CV? What things have I done? What things I wish I could do so I can keep you interested in those activities in the future. And let's say there's a small gallery exhibition coming up, maybe you can start submitting in that scale, right? So that maybe you can grow your experience to submit to other things. So think about what experience you have and what experience you may have. And also, I would love to know if you are interested in learning more about how to craft your art CV. I can go in depth in terms of how we can create one. And I can also give you more of my experience and more of my input in terms of how to create one yourself. So again, start with your CV right now. Point number 4 is having a body of work. Now, this is very self-explanatory. Essentially, what are you trying to exhibit? What things have you produced in the past? And this is to help you have things to exhibit, right? So you can't exhibit if you have nothing to exhibit. Or unless maybe you're applying to a call that you haven't explored or a topic you haven't explored in the past and want to work, right? But essentially, the galleries that I have applied to have required having a body of work, having experience, and this is really related to the CV. What are the pieces that you want to show? Are they visual? Are they sculptural? Are they part of another medium that you're thinking about exploring? Are they small? Are they medium? Are they large? Any of that, right? What I have discovered, and this is touching the portfolio part, we'll talk a little bit more about portfolios and what is a portfolio. But essentially, a body of work is a representation of who you are as an artist, right? Who are you? What are you exploring? What is something that relates to your life? I can talk about myself. I've always talked a lot about my identity growing up in a bicultural, bilingual community. What does it mean to be a Latinx individual in the South? And if this is something that you're exploring in your art, this is something that you can definitely create more of, right? I can think already about some things that I have had in the past. I have had many things, including portraits, I've had landscapes, I've had some fan art and things like that that informed me and what I wanted to produce more as an artist. So again, think about what themes are you creating? What themes are interesting to you? And then we can talk about self-style or art style. How do you know what your style is? We can talk more about that in the future. But essentially, think about what is a thread that is uniting or linking my work together, right? What is that piece? What is that theme that is creating my work with my name? That whenever people see your work without them knowing that Antonia Lanis did it, how do you know that they can recognize that's Antonia's work or this is your name's work, right? Who are you? So again, consider these kind of themes and you may be growing as an artist as you explore these things, right? So again, art style, a body of work, have something ready to produce or maybe produce something new they haven't had the chance to produce already. So tip number 5 is cataloging your work. So we touched a little bit about a portfolio, and a portfolio, if you're wondering, it's essentially collection of your best pieces coming together in a way that is presentable, right? There are probably many ways of defining what a portfolio is and what other artists have told you, or maybe you're going through art school or not. But what has helped me is understanding that my work is in a way that is presentable in a digital format. It's essentially a document, usually a PDF, that takes your work and the themes that I just described before and provides high quality photos with some description around what the piece is about, the medium, the time that you produced it, and anything else that the gallery owner may be looking for. So it's essentially a combination of your best work. I like to think in my portfolio has been very limited in terms of how many pieces I want to show the gallery or the funder. And this has been about 10 pieces, 10 to 15 pieces at most, different styles. I've focused on different kind of things that I want to show. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about why I keep saying funder. I am a grant writing consultant, and I also have worked with art calls for submitting grants to get money for people and for myself also when submitting to opportunities and funding. So that's why I say galleries and funding or funders, which can be similar. But again, that's another video, another topic. Let me know if you'd like to learn more about what art writing is about or grant writing for artists is about, and we can definitely go in more in depth as well. So again, going back to the cataloging, this is your best work. It shows your abilities, it shows your experience, it shows your expertise, right? Again, even creating a portfolio, it can be it can be a long process. don't let it be something stressful. You can definitely do it, and there are many ways that we can make a portfolio possible. So my best advice for you to start making these things, being ready to apply for a gallery, is definitely thinking about the quality of the work that you are submitting, right? Are your photos clear? Are they well lit? Are you creating pieces that are representing of your work? Are the pieces you're submitting high quality, meaning that you're not taking a picture in a bad lit place, like in your living room where you can see maybe your couch sticking in the corner. So I'm not asking or saying that you should have the most expensive or the most up to date or the latest model of a camera, or having a studio or anything like that, but I'm just saying that there are ways of you to produce something that is to submit to the art call, to the art exhibition. So that would be the one of the biggest things: your CV and your portfolio. Tip number 6: this is preparing for a headshot. So what is a headshot? A headshot essentially is a picture of your face, right? Usually contains from the chest to the top. Usually galleries will require a headshot of your face, right? Again, they most likely need these for marketing purposes. If you were to be accepted, they'll have something to show community members or people or viewers who want to see the gallery exhibition once it opens. They will use that as a way to give a face to the work. So think about a headshot. It's time to think about whether you're ready to get a headshot. Again, you don't have to hire the most expensive photographer or have super high tech or the latest model of the camera, or hire a studio for you to do that. There are ways for you to have a high quality, well lit picture. And again, we can go more in depth about what this means. When I started out, I used to be very aware about what a headshot was, and I started taking pictures of myself, the tripod, in a well-lit place, in a place that we can go into some photography techniques to taking a self-portrait for this headshot, but we could go on and on about this. All the things that I'm trying to say right now is that the photo is essentially a representation to potential viewers how the gallery will show your work. And also think about it, they will more than likely, or most likely, print your headshot in a book, or not a book, but like a booklet or program that talks about who you are and what you are showing through your work. So again, prepare a headshot. I definitely don't want to be overwhelming or talk a lot about what things I wish I knew when I was starting to apply for galleries. We are in step number 7, which we're halfway to point number 12. This is writing an art statement. So what is an art statement? An art statement essentially is who you are as an artist, but more along the lines of how you work stands on itself. If you had to describe a person about your best friend, your partner, your brother, your sister, your sibling, your cousin, you would talk about them in a way that is essentially talking about that person and what they do, right? What they create or who they are. So essentially, art statement is you writing about your work and in a way that you would talk about someone else, right? And again, these are super technical ways of approaching an art statement. I started to write my art statement and I struggled in the beginning because I didn't know what it was. And I'm sure there are other artists out there are also sharing what they are. But one of the things about art, and I think this channel in general, is that there are so many ways to do and approach art. It doesn't mean that we have to follow already established traditions of what has happened or maybe what someone else has told you. What has helped me is really writing something that resonates with me, resonates with the gallery, the exhibition that I'm thinking about. And again, how can this narrative provide context to my pieces? What are the things that I want to talk about in my work? What are the things that my work is talking about? You may have heard conflicting thoughts and conflicting schools of thought about some of the things that I will say, or maybe you don't agree with the things that I'm saying. That is okay. One of the biggest things that I want to say today and every day in this channel or wherever I am is that there is no one way to do art. Do art in a way that feels good to you, in a way that resonates with your opportunities, with the galleries, with your community, with your funders, with people who want to hire you for things. So again, let it be a testament, let it be a statement to your experience as an artist more and in terms of how you want to talk about your work, how your work can stand on itself, right? So again, writing an artist statement can be a lot. Writing an artist statement can be extensive. I'm not saying that we should write a novel or an essay. It can be something short. I've written artist statements for solo shows and for group exhibitions. And I believe my solo show was about 1,000 words long. And for exhibitions with other artists or group exhibitions, they had to be, I think, about 300 words or less. Again, we'll talk more about what artist statement is, maybe down the line, or if this is something you want to talk more about. It's a self-taught artist, let me know. I'll be happy to think about that and maybe proceed with that. That is tip number 7. Tip number 8 is creating an artist bio. So this goes hand in hand with the artist statement. While the artist statement talk more about your work as a piece that's outside of you, a separate entity, the artist bio is more about yourself as an artist, more about you as a person, right? One of the biggest things that used to really bother me about writing an artist statement and an artist bio is how intertwined they are. And sometimes the things may overlap. Sometimes things may talk about the same thing. But essentially, what I wanted to know is, how do you write artist statement or artist bio? Over the years, I began to learn more, read more, and also practice. Again, don't be stressed. Artist bio, essentially a summary of who you are as an artist. Who are you? What is your background? What is your education? What are some key influences that you have had? So some things like, what does your life inform your work? Or does it even inform your work? As an artist who has used identity to inform his work, I always talk about my life growing up, like I said, bicultural, bilingual in the South. So that's really always motivated me to learn more about how does my life influence my work. So again, this is something that you are as an artist, who are you as a person. And I have seen some artists whose life experience does not reflect at all their work. I find that interesting, and I'm still trying to learn more about that. And definitely you're one of those artists. We can talk more later, but sometimes artists don't feel that their life or their upbringing has influenced their work. And again, it's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I think for me, I really can't separate my upbringing or my culture from my work. And I think that's where I have trouble understanding that. But again, this is, like I said, art is different for everyone. It doesn't have to be the same for me or as for you. And I think what makes this conversation rich is that what may work for me may or may not work for you. Or maybe what I'm saying is not for you at this moment, just thinking about things that how they develop over as they need to develop. Again, creating an artist bio, super important. So the next part is understanding a gallery fee, point number 9. As you're applying to galleries, some galleries may charge to even submit an application. Excuse me. Some applications may ask you to submit $5 or $50 or more to a gallery call. So be aware that some galleries may charge you or other galleries may not charge you. So as you're thinking about this, think about whether you can pay, whether you may ask for some help if you need to, one thing that has always helped me is sometimes, I'm not saying that all galleries will do this, but sometimes galleries may be open to talking with you, whether they can offset or reduce or eliminate the fee. Again, think about the cost that it would be to apply to these exhibitions. And again, be prepared. Be prepared, meaning that some galleries may ask you upfront that they will charge to even consider or read your application. Be thoughtful about that. Now, galleries, with this point number 9. With gallery fees, sometimes galleries may also charge a percentage of the pieces that you are selling. And I know we can go in depth about what it means to sell your work and how much to price your work. What are the kinds of works that people are looking to buy? But essentially, what I want to talk about right now is that galleries oftentimes charge a percentage of whatever sale you have. For example, I've seen galleries maybe charge 20% or 30% of the finished painting or the finished visual piece that I have participated in. This is where you have to decide as well whether you want to sell your work. Sometimes the work is not for sale. Sometimes it may be for sale. So when you're submitting, take some time and think, okay, do I want to sell this piece? Do I want to keep it for myself? Or do I want to just exhibit, right? And have people learn more about the work that I do. So think a lot about what are your goals. Are you trying to sell your work? Are you trying to build your experience by submitting? We could go on and on about what are your goals in the art exhibitions. So again, be prepared for application fees and also aware that the galleries may charge some percentage of your finished or sold piece. Let's say you're selling a piece for $1,000. If you are in a gallery that charges 30%, $300 would essentially go for the gallery, and the remaining 700% will go to you as an artist. So think about that as well. Is that something you like to do? And again, I've never worked in a gallery, and we can go on here. We could even talk to some gallery owners. From what I've talked to, some gallery owners, they want to charge for gallery exhibition opportunities to offset and pay overhead cost, right? So anything around paying for the rent of the venue, the electricity, the marketing. So again, it's a way that they're trying to fundraise to pay for that, because we know that running a gallery, running exhibitions, we have to hire people. We have to essentially have opportunities for people to make a living. So again, we could go on and on. Someone who works a lot in development, meaning fundraising, applying for grants, that kind of thing, it's a fascinating topic for me. So if you're thinking more about how can we learn about grant writing or anything like that, let me know and we can talk more about that. What questions do you have? What things do you wish you know? Or maybe other tips and tricks that we can talk about. So tip number 10, and this is pricing your work. Again, touching a little bit on the previous point number 9, is how much are you charging for your work? Are you selling it? Are you creating a gallery opportunity for you where you just want to create the opportunity to meet people or just to have the experience? Or maybe you have a piece that is so dear to you that you don't want to sell it, right? So think about pricing. This could be a separate video about pricing. And one of the things that really confused me in the beginning was even how to price my work. I had some talks with some gallery owners that would share some comments about some artists. And again, I don't want to say names or really disclose information that I was able to gather. But essentially, people will talk. People will start saying, this person is charging too much, or this person's charging very little. what really has helped me is create a relationship with people to find things that can help me inform about how much to price my work. But what I found out is that when pricing your work, it helps to talk to people. It helps to see what the market says. It helps to see what other people are saying around the same kind of work. One thing that really helped me, and I want to talk about a topic or a piece of advice. If you're struggling to know how much you charge, I recommend going to a gallery exhibition in your local city, wherever you are.
Here I am.
That was my Siri talking. No, Siri, I don't need you to talk right now. But what I was saying is, you may be wondering, what is your local market saying, right? I cannot give you a blanket statement about this is how much people charge. But one thing that I do want to share, and it can give you some pointers. I went to a gallery here where I live, and I was able to see that some paintings were sold under a certain amount of money. And when you began to see gallery exhibitions and you began to explore what other artists are doing, you begin to get an idea about the things that may be helpful for you. I was able to see a range of certain art styles. You may see that people in your community are more in tune or likely to buy certain pieces over others. And also, you can think a lot about how much they are charging and selling. While I was at this gallery exhibition the other day, I began to see small red stickers. Red stickers are usually a pointer to let people know that someone has bought the piece. So I was taking note. I was taking mental note. Okay, so people are paying X amount of dollars based on this kind of topic. And someone who is always learning, someone who's always observing and thinking, I've had an idea about using those kind of experiences to inform how much you charge for your work, right? So next time that I want to create more exhibitions or apply for things, I'm going to keep this information in mind and tell myself they're charging X amount of money and they're selling. And also, these are the types of concepts that artists are promoting in their work, right? I won't give you details because I want to keep people's information private. I just don't have permission to share this, and I wish I could. But again, you can find this information yourself if you really want to. This information, it's essentially public. The information that I found, the gallery was open, people could go in and you could see what has been sold. So again, think about what ways you can define and inform yourself as an artist. And I found that super intriguing, and I wish I could have known that as a beginner artist. So if you're struggling, how much is my piece worth? Am I charging a little bit? Am I charging too much? Make it a regular practice of going to locations that will definitely inform you about what other pieces are selling and how much they're selling for. So give yourself a range of, let's say, $200, $300. Maybe this gallery is really selling a lot of people's work in the range of $300. So maybe your piece will likely be worth that amount, or maybe people will likely buy that painting at that price. Maybe your piece is worth $1,000, but maybe the community around you or the market will not be able to buy it right now. Think about those kinds of things. And again, find ways that you can inform yourself about pricing. Pricing, it's a lot of information. We could go on in depth about what pricing your work can tell and can go. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to learn more about pricing your work, your paintings, your visual pieces, so that we can definitely touch on that. Y'all, so this is a long video. What I'm seeing is it's a lot of information. That's okay. We're going to get through this. We have 2 more points, and we're going to talk a lot about how do we bring this together? How do we wrap it around? How are we comfortable? How are at least beginning to feel when submitting or thinking about applying for a gallery exhibition as a first-time or self-taught artist, right? So tip number 11, it relates a lot to pricing your work relates a lot to your portfolio. It relates a lot to your CV. Essentially, galleries will ask you for a document that will require a list or information about the pieces that you're submitting. So, what are the pieces you're submitting? What are their names? What are their titles? What is the medium? Is it photography? Is it a line cut? Is it a digital piece? Is it a print? What is the date of completion? What is the year that you made the piece, right? And also very important that every piece that you submit also has a brief description of each piece. Again, a lot of the things that I've found in the art world is that they require writing. And if you're thinking maybe writing is not for me, it's okay. There are many ways of you writing this information for labels. So do not let that hold you back. Again, usually these descriptions are short, maybe 3-4 sentences about what each piece means or what you want to communicate to the audience. Think about a brief description. What is it that you want to talk about? What is it that you want to present? Are there any QR codes? In 2024, we're using QR codes. Do you want to send people to a link? Do you want to send people to an external place on the internet that they can consult further? Is there an accompanying piece of work that you like to introduce when people see some things? So when I applied to one of my local galleries, I submitted some prints that I did for a podcast project. And you can learn more about the podcast project called Me Vacuno Porque, or I Get Vaccinated Because. You can Google it or also find it on my social media. By the way, you can follow me at Instagram at Antonio Lanes Art, and I'll be able to share some of this work and future work, right? So what I'm saying here is you can send people to other places. And what I did in that description or label, I put a QR code to this place that I wanted to tell people where to go. So the podcast was comprised of many illustrations, and I wanted people to see the illustrations prints on the wall, but also want them to use the illustrations as a platform to look further, look into the podcast itself. And I really found out that people were looking and watching the podcast and listening to the podcast. So again, it's a way for people to learn more about your work. One thing about QR codes, though, and just creating labels in general, is talk to your gallery whether that's something they allow. I haven't had any trouble or problems directing people to my website or to the projects related to what I'm exhibiting. But I think it's crucial for us to think about whether we have permission to do that, right? Again, I want to be respectful. I want to make sure that people in the galleries know that my piece is a springboard to something else, usually other conversations or other projects. Again, I know it's a lot, but essentially creating a list of submission, things that you want to submit, sent, say the title, the medium, date of completion, and a brief description of each piece. Now, if you're thinking about submitting 5 pieces, all 5 pieces will need to have the title, medium, date of completion, and a brief description. Also be thinking about that. How do you feel comfortable creating this kind of work? Okay, last point. Point number 12 is networking and building relationships. Super important, y'all. I cannot stress the importance about having relationships with gallery owners. And by relationships, I mean knowing them, who they are. We don't have to be best friends or anything like that, but what are their names? What do they like? What things do they like to have, right? Now, as I said, I have most experience working with nonprofit galleries. I have had very little experience working with for-profit galleries, but I would imagine that for-profit galleries like to sell, right? To keep their business. Essentially, it's a business. So I think that we can go on and on a lot about what is it that the market is asking or what is selling, that kind of thing. And that's useful information when you get to know the people. So again, build relationships with our owners. Who are they like? What do they like exploring? Who do they like to exhibit? You can learn a lot about who they are as artists, as people, and maybe you can get some ideas about what kind of work they are likely to accept in this particular piece or exhibition. Again, really applying to galleries is really living the experience, right? So you live the experience of being an artist, meaning it can be helpful, and I wish I knew this when I was starting out, is to attend gallery openings. When is it that your community or your city is opening up the art scene? Is there a first Friday? Is there a third Friday? What schedule is your city following in terms of showing their work, right? What are you doing to get yourself closer to learning more about your city cultural thing around creating opportunities for artists? What art shows? Is there an art show that you can go and talk to other artists, or you can talk to other gallery owners? Who are they? What are they doing? What opportunities are available to you? And I think that by meeting people, you can a lot of times find opportunities for you as well. I do want to say that my first solo show that I did not have to apply for a gallery. Actually, the gallery with a partner nonprofit reached out to me asking if I wanted to exhibit for their Hispanic Heritage Month. So again, these are the things that I didn't know that word of mouth would help me and give me opportunities that I was not looking for, but that I wanted to explore, right? I'm going to be honest. Back then when I was starting out, I had no idea on how to apply for a gallery, and I wanted to apply for something, and it ended up coming sooner than I wanted it to be. And I loved it. I loved it. I embraced it. I was a little bit nervous. I was thinking, how do you even apply? How do you even do a gallery exhibition? Do I even have bodies or a body of work? So again, it comes back to imposter syndrome. But I want to keep it focused, networking and building relationships. What I'm saying here is that networking can help open new doors to new opportunities and definitely provide valuable insights into the gallery application process. So think about, what new opportunities are you looking for? Again, it's not just about submitting, but really, I think about relationships, about who you know, about what people want to support. So that is the end of the 12 tips that I wish I would have known, and share those tips with you as a self-taught artist, someone who didn't go to art school. And to conclude, applying to gallery exhibitions can be a daunting process, but do not let that hold you back. The biggest thing I can say is break all the things that I've said into manageable steps that can make it much easier for you. So it doesn't mean that you have to drop everything you're going through right now. And you need to start documenting your pieces, taking pictures of your pieces, writing a description about what they are, or building relationships with people by going to all the art shows at all. No, give yourself a plan and give yourself some time to execute every single thing, so that when it's time for you to apply for something, you already have something ready for the application. So again, I understand that I said a lot right now in this video, but I do want to create a 12-point checklist for keeping things in mind when submitting to gallery and exhibit. I'll be creating this 12-point checklist for gallery submissions underneath the comments, and it will be available to download, so you can get more information there. Again, as someone who really likes structure, someone who understands that I can't do everything at once and have to break stuff into steps, a checklist has really helped me create and visualize the things I need to do in the future. So I highly recommend you downloading this 12-point checklist. And again, the checklist will guide you through the entire process and ensure that you have everything you need, or at least be ready to submit to this application. So, y'all, if you made it to the end of the video, please let me know in the comment below. Tell me that you're here by writing the word checklist. Tell me in the comments, you have finished, you have arrived at the end of the video by writing checklist. And again, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions or topics that you want me to look over, or things that are giving you trouble, or maybe things you're struggling with right now as an artist starting out, let me know in the comments and tell me what thing you're going through, what thing you wish to learn more about, and I'll be happy to provide more context about things that I wish I would have known when I was starting as an artist exhibiting in my local community. Again, my name is Antonio Alanis. Check out my work at Instagram, Antonio Alanis Art. And thank you again. Until next time.